a day in September 2019, Swardeston Cricket Club achieved every club cricketer's dream of winning a national title in a match played at Lord's. The 2019 season was a remarkable one, with thrills, spills and of course much good fortune along the way, as Swardeston navigated their way through 7 rounds to reach the climax of the Royal London National Club Championship on Monday the 16th of September. But before we focus on that historic summer, let's take a moment to look back at the history of the club and how Swardeston made the journey from a village green to the home of cricket. Although the club can trace its history back to the 1850s, the modern club really began in the mid-1960s when it started playing on Swardeston Common, and then in the mid-70s dropped the Mulbarton part of its name. Club president Peter Thomas, groundsman Pat Hall, and former captains David and Mark Thomas look back across those 50 plus years and how the club has progressed.
My career started down here counting the opposition, because I was going to Langley School and they didn't want me to play, so I used to count the opposition in the change room and often used to play for the opposition as a 13, 14-year-old. And then Pat Hall, who was captain at the time, knocked on the door when I was 15 and said, would you come and play? And from that moment on I played for Swardeston. I did then, because Swardeston were only a Sunday side, so I did then spend a couple of years at Cromer, got off to play at Ingham. If I went to Ingham I'd play for Norfolk, which I didn't think was the way forward. I wanted to get there on merit rather than playing for Ingham. Then I played for CYMS on a Saturday, and then Swardeston decided, I think it was about 1974, we went to the Norfolk League, and the rest is history. We managed to get in the Carter Cup, although at the time Eric Bedwell came and looked at the ground and said it was substandard for the Carter Cup. We need to do a lot of work on the outfield, which we all did. We all did it that winter, and it's, we got it better, but there's been some hard times on the way. We used to have to cut the outfield with a hater, because the council used to cut every 10 days, and 9 times out of 10 that would be Monday, Tuesday, obviously every sort of 3rd or 4th week. So we'd go around with a hater, and then I had this brainwave. We'd get some gang mowers. There's an old Morris Minor at work. We'd convert it, and because we didn't have a tractor or anything, and we used that to cut the outfield. Because I was going to swear then. It was much easier than walking around there with a hater, because obviously once you'd done it on a Tuesday night, but the Friday you had to do it again. It's amazing. I lose my keys 3 times a day, but I can remember playing Bradfield, Kenny Feltham, who joined us from Brackenash, he was out handled ball, which is unheard of. And there was all eruptions. That was the time when Jack Smethurst came from and gave all the presentations out. And all those games stick heavily in my mind, because that was where we were building. Never did I dream we'd build where we've got, but we were building. Unbelievable, We went to Bradfield actually on a Sunday, and I think they got about 230 and about 30 overs. They were absolutely murdering us. We wouldn't have got anywhere near, and the dear rain came down. We went back on a Thursday, and we mustered about 158. And Kenny Feltham, I mentioned him before, who was a very underrated bowler, he came on and bowled him out for about 80. And there we were on the road to Collingham, Market Overton, and then unfortunately Isleham, who did beat us. 2 games away from Lord's. That was my dream, and as I came away that day, I'll always remember, I thought that'll never ever happen. I think there was only, in those days, batting order. I can even remember the batting order nearly. Pat and Ian used to open the batting, Robert Bradford, me, Adrian Jay, John Bobbin, all from Swardeston, Barry Martin, 7. There was about 9 of us. Like Mike Claxton had joined us then from Brackenash, and Kenny Feltham. We were only village cricketers. We weren't. There was no hard assassins out there. Then we decided that we wanted to play Saturdays and Sundays. So we joined the Norfolk League in 74 or 75, and then we got, with the amalgamation of with the demise of Brackenhash, we got a few extra players. So then we decided to play an odd second team game. So we did get a lot of flack from the Norfolk League, because what we were doing was we were playing national competitions with the first team and putting the second team out in the Norfolk League and different things like that, because some of them were on a Saturday. So yeah, but that's when it all started, and then we actually got a second team going properly when we joined the Alliance in 1978. Hard work. We had to go to the Ministry Estate, because obviously it was on common land. Took a lot of hard work. Obviously we didn't have any money, because I managed to persuade my father and mother to, if they could build it, we'd pay them back, which we did over the years. It took a long while, obviously, paying it back with the overheads of running it and everything. I think they nearly got it all back, but I don't know if they got it all back. But without the extension of the clubhouse and changing rooms, we couldn't have stayed here. You look back on it now, would it have been best to invest that money somewhere else and had a field, and then we'd have our own land, we'd have our own clubhouse? So I've got a little bit of mixed feelings about that. I don't know if we made the right decision, but at the time it was definitely the right decision, and obviously without my parents we wouldn't be sitting here today. Well, without Norwich Seams, I don't think the club would be where we are today. Obviously another ground in Swardston, which is so good. It's I don't want to praise Pat too much, but the wicket was poor when he went there, but he's turned it into probably one of the best wickets in Norfolk. And it's so good for junior cricket, because there's bounce. Kids want the ball to bounce, so it's very difficult to hit it when they roll along the ground, because they don't bowl with any pace. And the tie-up with Seams is the catalyst of our success. Seams had two sides at the time, and our second team folded, so then we got the third team to play there. Then I kept a good eye on the Seams team, who were struggling, and then I found out that they'd packed up, so I contacted Chris Fee at Seams, said we'll take that over and we'll run a fourth team. And I've got to say, at that time I thought it was a step too far, but Neil Taylor took that on, and he just got like 13, 14-year-olds, and without Neil that fourth team wouldn't have happened. So I really do thank him for that. And now it's still hard work, but we are running four teams. But most probably winning the Carter Cup in 1987 was a thing we'd been runners up about 4 or 5 times, never thought it would happen. And we beat a very, very strong Vauxhall side that day. And beaten quite convincingly as well by 5 wickets. And then we went on from strength to strength, really. After I won the Carter Cup in 87, he took on 88, and then David did it for 10 or 12 years, and then obviously Mark took on, and I think there was a few reservations Mark taking on, because he weren't the easiest to captain in his youth. But actually Pat would vow that. I told him one day, he went to America because he married an American girl, and I said, if he don't come back, we've got to struggle. And he came back, all guns blazing, took over the captaincy, and the rest is history, really. We were complete rank underdogs. I think there's 4 of us there, and I think we were like 8-1 to win it. 4 clubs, anything can happen in 2020. That's how we were underdogs. And to be honest with you, when we were playing Wimbledon, we only got about 110. I didn't think we'd do it, but George Walker, I haven't mentioned him, a very instrumental part of that, of the years. Was a very, very good left-arm spinner then, and then we had Jaden and Simsey, and in those days spin was the order of the day. and we managed to complete the win there. But then to play South Northumberland, who I was speaking to their chairman in between, and they had a £90,000 salary player wage bill, and I'm thinking of Pat going around the common doing pound raffles. I'm thinking I don't think we're quite in their league. But Mark was always thought he could win every game. He batted first. Everyone else would have bowled first because just to make the game, but he batted first. Got a reasonable score thanks to Peter Lambert. Amazing innings of his, and we crept home by 10 runs. And I think that day will always bring back memories of where we've gone and what we're doing now, because I think that was a major day that day, winning that national. That got the hunger of a lot of players. You have to go forward. Like every year, you have to think you're going to be better than last year. Sometimes it's difficult, but if you don't progress and don't have ambitions, then you go backwards. And to be fair, Pat and I, that's both our views, and that's why we've pushed it forward. And where we've got what I don't want to put ourselves on a pedestal, but we're a lot to do with what has happened. But all the time, really, we had a few narrow defeats, and we were always competing. That's the most important. We weren't losing by 9 wickets or 200 runs. That was always close. So you think to yourself, one day we could go a long way here. The workload, for a start, Lords was a lovely place to play, but the workload, trying to sort tickets out, trying to sort the dinner out in the evening, it was just like a full-time job, But I just have to thank everyone involved who helped us sort that all out, and I'm a bit strange when it comes to those days, because I really look forward to it, but I can't wait for it to end.
That nerves?
But I want them to win so much. When we asked to bat, I couldn't believe Nantwich put us in. We'd won every game. But I think confidence was probably not... I'm not that confident a person, so I probably weren't confident. I was quite confident when we got 280 off 40 overs. But, there's some phenomenal batting there, and little Alfie Cooper, that'll just go down in my memory for the rest of my life, like he's come through the whole system. Played in the under-7s, under-9s, and came through and then there he is walking down the steps at Lords. That is what Swardston is all about. We don't want hired assassins. We want to do it our way.
Well, 1957, I first walked in Swardston Cricket Club, playing at Keswick College, and we played there until 1964. When we came down here, we had to get off because the teachers wanted to use it for themselves at the training college. So 1964 was the first season down here, and that was laid around about 1960. But there's not a lot of money, and so that was a poor job. The soil was not very good, but we'd done our best. And that first year, we had to lay a coconut matting just on the grass because that was so dangerous. The ball flying all over the place. So the first games were on coconut matting. Well, when I first started at Keswick College, we had to prepare the pitches. So they said, "You want to play, do you? All right." We'll say, "There's the roller. You get and roll a wicket." So and I liked it right from there. So clay pits and that's all clay soil, and that was filled in with very poor infill, and then round about the early 70s, because of the big hole down the bottom, that was all filled in. When they'd done a building project at Mulbarton, and all the excess soil came down here to fill this in. Well, we did our best. What time we had, and little money, no money. We had to get what soil we can, and pulling rollers, and if you wanted to spike it, you had to fork it with a hand fork. So that was very hard work. Friendly cricket, yeah. That was Mulbarton and Swardston. There was Mulbarton and Swardston A, Maurice Wadsley captain, and then there's Mulbarton and Swardston B, Rodney Brown. He was captain of that side, and started off in Bullbarton B. Well, the two sides were then sort of getting old, and that they were sort of dropping out, and then we sort of took over, playing Sundays, friendly Sundays. Peter would look in his telephone book and he'd ring Martham up and Jerry Nichols and try and get a game with them, and then you get a game at Ingham, that sort of thing, and Cromer. Because we did have a good young side. I mean, there was a lot of good cricketers, and about half a dozen or more from actually Swardston. We progressed and went into the Alliance, and that was way above my standard for me. But I mean, then there's a second team. That second team that was about my level. So, you know, we did have some very good players, and we got some good players join as well, especially when, like, Brake and Ash finished playing. They didn't have enough players to play, and they played all the away games, so we had some good players come from them, and that made us into a very good side. We had, in 1974, I think down here, we played Bradfield in the quarterfinals or the area final of The Hague, and we had the people, Love Thy Neighbour, who was a television programme at that time, came up from Yarmouth. They were down there and presenting the medals, and we lost in a close game, really, a low scoring game, but that was a close game. Lost to Bradfield, but we had a good night in the pub afterwards, and all that. They all came back to the pub. The games, I'm going back, playing Bradfield in the Carter Plate, when we'd worked all week trying to cut the outfield with three mowers, and a fly mower and two all-cylinder mowers going round and round, starting on the Monday and finishing on the Friday, and then you know, that wasn't good enough at the end of the day, so that's the sort of thing we had to do then. 76 was the first year in the Carter Cup. Went to the last over against Durham. You know, that could have gone either way. But we just missed out. They just got home. But it was a very close game. It was in 1998. And for the first 2 years, we obviously we couldn't do it here. So they played at Lakenham, that was available. So 2 years we played at Lakenham. And yes, that went very well. Yeah, when you think back all the years where we started from, and from, you know, the village green, you know, with the standard that was, getting to play and then play at Lords, that was a lump in your throat. I'd wished for success when I was young, so we could get like something like the teams like the Inghams and the Bradfields. We'd go to them grounds, Cromer, and then we play on the common here. I did have a feeling in my heart that we deserve something a little bit better than what we have, and I still hope that might happen one day. I keep my fingers crossed, and I should just keep pushing all I can to try and make so that we could perhaps have a ground suitable for what playing side we have now. If you don't have ambition, you can stay still, and if you stay still, you go backwards. So I think to be positive is the way forward.
The fact I was born in Swardston, born and bred, and it was in the blood really. Obviously, my brother Peter was 10 years older than me, so it was always a case of coming down to the Common to watch Swardston play. But yeah, we go back to those days, and it is a long while ago. But it was one team, maybe 14 players maximum. And obviously in those days, the Hague National Village competition was a big competition for Swardston to play in. And we had some unbelievable days. There were some marvellous memories of Swardston Cricket Club, just as a small village side, doing very well in that Hague National. And I can remember back in those days, I was actually then playing quite a lot of tennis, and I was 13, 14, playing in a tournament away. And Swardston were playing Collingham in the last 16, and obviously there was no mobile phones or anything like that, and my mum and I were sort of desperate to know how the lads were getting on. And I can remember them playing there, hearing the result that they actually managed to win, And hearing the stories when they came back about the best ground they'd ever played on. You know, Pat was playing in that game, but he was also groundsman. He came back saying that I'm going to bring some Nottingham soil back because the wicket was so good. And we made a contact with them. We had soil, loam brought down to go onto our wicket. Incredible, really, when you actually go back and you think it was only maybe 40 years ago those sort of things were happening. You know, the goal was always to try and play. My tennis days finished when I was around 16, 17, and my attention immediately came to cricket because it was in the blood. Peter was captain, and you know, you're just waiting for that opportunity to have a game. And I can remember it actually happening when I was around 15, playing on the common for the first time in a friendly, not doing very well, having tears as I walked off. But little did I know that, you know, that was going to be the start of a fantastic journey with playing and supporting Swarton Cricket. In around 1980, I was desperate to get in the side. I was playing in the second team and doing quite well, but you know, for whatever reason, maybe it was because Peter was captain, he was a bit loath to get me into the side. And bizarrely, the best thing which happened was that Swarton actually got relegated to Division 1 of the Norfolk Alliance, and so they then thought that this is the moment we can blood, you know, myself and the Lincoln twins at that time, who were good cricketers a year older than myself. And you know, the Wyndham College connection we had at that time, which obviously your chairman Stuart was a party to that, and we got given our opportunity to play in Division 1. We did well. We won that league, got straight back into the Premier Division, and away we went. Yeah, without a doubt. And I think it was a really important thing at that time to. And particularly as Swanston being the club we are, we like to try and promote young players. It was a great opportunity for them to actually get involved in the game. You know, all-day cricket is an opportunity for young players to get their opportunity. You know, even if they're batting at 6 or 7, you know, they can get in with a bit of time to understand the game and to score runs and to improve. And that really did work for us. I mean, we were having, as you know, 14-year-olds playing in our first team who went on to play professional cricket. And that was always our goal, I think, as a cricket club, to encourage young players and to see if we could help them in their journey to their dreams. And we did it, with no question. You know, I can remember as captain opening the bowling with Bud Bailey, who was 14 years old, albeit 6'6" and 14 years old. And a very young Robert Newton as well, you know, playing with him. Remember him getting his first 100 for Swarton when he was 14 years old, playing in the East Anglian Premier League. And the wonderful memories of that was I was batting with him at the time and he was 14 years old. I wasn't the greatest player the world's ever seen, but I wasn't bad. I was captain of Norfolk at that time as well. And he just came to me, you know, at the end of an over, and he said, "Look, David, if you can give me one," he said, I'll do the rest. And he just looked and he thought, "You're 14 years old." But it was proven, you know, he went on to play professional cricket, and we are very proud of that. I think even in those years within the Norfolk Alliance, I think we were always punching above our weight. We were all right, but we, as you know, I think the ethos of our cricket club is the team spirit we had, and the games we used to win were just purely because we had this unbelievable spirit. National competitions, we always entered them. We occasionally got to the regional final, but it was tough cricket. We had one year of particular success. We got to the last 16, played against Old Hill, Birmingham, who were a fantastic semi-professional cricket side, had 2 or 3 players who were on either Worcester or Warwickshire's books. And I can always remember we got absolutely hammered. I think bowled out for just over, even if we might not made 100, and they knocked him off for 1 or 2 very, very quickly. And Peter was captain at the time, and the headlines of the EDP that day after the defeat were, "You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear." Now that didn't actually go down too well with the players because we thought we might be a bit better than that. But the bottom line was he was right. You know, we weren't good enough. We really weren't good enough to compete at that level. And so for what has gone ahead with the guys, what we've achieved over the last 10 years, it just speaks volumes. And I don't think we can ever underestimate the magnitude of that achievement. I mean, it'll never be out of my memory, really. We did have a fantastic day, you know, and it was a situation again of, you know, 4 or 5 mates all went down. We certainly made the best of it. We had a private bus, and you know, it was a fantastic trip. Thought we might not even see any cricket, to be fair, but as we got there, the clouds sort of seemed to disappear, and you saw an unbelievable fighting performance from Swardston, and that really epitomised everything we talk about our cricket club. You know, there was no way we should have won that semi-final, but they just showed some character, and you just had that feeling that once we'd won that perhaps, you know, we could go on and achieve it, that to win the final against South Northumberland, who we thought we might be able to win, but then sitting down to talking to their supporters, and you find out that, you know, every single one of their players was being paid to play, and you just thought, I think we might be out of our depth here. But again, the boys came through, and it was a truly magnificent day. I think we look back and we think it wasn't the best side Swardston ever had, and I think we'd be true to say that, but at the same time, we also had some high quality cricketers at that time, and I can vividly remember it being a big spinning wicket. England had played on that pitch in a one-day international only the day before, and it turned, and we had 3 high quality spinners in George Walker, who then went on to play for Leicester. We had Richard Sims, Zimbabwe, Jaden Hatwell from New Zealand, who were all high quality spinners. So as it turned out, we most probably had the real tools for the job on the day. But they had to perform, and they did, and obviously it was unbelievable. You know, and you almost thought that most probably is the pinnacle. We will never get any better than that, but we did. They literally were an hour and a half, 2 hours away from achieving the magical double. But again, I think it just proved that, you know, there's a real heart at Swardston, and maybe that disappointment actually then really drove them on to think, you know, if we can be that close now, we can do it. And, you know, it didn't take long for them to prove that. I look at the side now, and I mean, it is as good a club side as you could ever have. I really do believe that. And particularly in last year, I think the bowling attack was strong enough. You know, it was important that we could get the best bowlers fit. Obviously, Callum was always a little bit unfit early season, but once he came to fitness, I mean, I think he proved a cutting edge for us. You know, to bowl that sort of pace, particularly at the death, where he can bowl Yorkers at, you know, let's be fair, mid-80s, maybe even beyond, is not seen in club cricket. And I thought the batting lineup was so strong, they batted so far down, and I really did think that, you know, the journeys we made together were great fun, but I always had in the back of my mind it was certainly not going to be a wasted journey, and so it proved. To play at Lords, you know, and I've been fortunate to play there a few times prior to that, but to play in a final for Norfolk and to win was obviously a big day. But I can safely put my hand on my heart and say the fact that even though I wasn't playing, to watch my cricket club win at Lords was a far greater day, and made me more proud than anything else I've really ever had in sport. And to see those boys walk out there, I mean, it makes me feel emotional even talking about it now. To see the Callan brothers walking down those steps to open the batting for Swardston was just beyond my wildest dreams. And to be there to see them perform as well was the other great thing. They really did play a complete game of cricket with bat, with the ball, and in the field. And I think, yeah, we could walk away there saying, you know what, we are the best side in the country.
I basically grew up around here at the Common watching cricket. David, my dad. So probably from 4 or 5. My first real memory is actually probably 1987 at Lakenham, the Carter Cup final. I think in those days that was probably just as important as that Lord's final actually too. Everyone playing in it, and I do actually remember sitting in the school box at Lakenham watching with Simon Green, who still comes to watch us now. My dad going out in his funny sort of motorcycle white helmet, hitting a few runs at the end, and David finishing not out to win that game. So that's probably the first memory. With regard to playing, I think I probably, in those days, there weren't many youth teams. I think there was just like under 15s when I first started playing, but I played in when I was about 10 or 11. Played in that team for about 4 or 5 years. As a 13-year-old, I started playing in the second team. And then from 15 or 16 in 93, I think, or 94, we were back in that Carter Cup final at Lakenham, and we won it for 2 years in a row in my sort of first 2 seasons. So they're the real sort of early memories of the club. Yeah, David was captain in '93. I'm not sure exactly when he stopped captaincy. Dad was playing then. He was originally a bowler, but he was an all-rounder, but then he sort of started opening the batting in those days. And I always remember my first game actually was on a Sunday at Poswick, and it was against Norwich Barleycorns. In those days they had a larger than life character in Tony Selby, who was about 25 stone as captain. I think I was fielding down at fine leg, and I think I let one straight through my legs fairly early off Marcus Rayner. And then I actually came on and bowled at him and did okay, and sort of things went on from there. We were one of the 3 or 4 teams from Norfolk to go into that. I've been lucky enough to play in the Premier League from every year since it started, actually, from '99. I'm not sure exactly on my dates, but we had a few years playing at Lakenham, which were good, but it was always nice to, the Common has always been considered the home, and I think everyone at the club loves playing here, so it was nice to come back down here. Yeah, started captaincy I think in 2004. We were probably at that stage just rebuilding for a couple of years, and then we were lucky enough to start having a little bit of success in 2007 with a number of youngsters coming in. I think we won the APL in 2007 and 2008. And then the big success was 2010 on a national stage, where we were lucky enough to play at the Rose Bowl in Hampshire and go on to win that with what was probably we were definitely the underdogs in at that stage, and we won it with a side which is nowhere near the strength of the side that won at Lords last year, really, to be honest. Yeah. But it did sort of set the stage for, from then on in, I think we all believed that we could do quite well on a national stage, and most years after that we did get to like quarterfinals, semi-finals. For a number of years our nemesis was Ealing. That's probably why it was, and then we did beat them in the T20, I think in 2016 was the first year we did beat them. We had a number of close battles, and actually that's why it was quite poignant that we played them down here in the semi-final last year when there were a lot of people here. They're a big setup. They employ a lot of people. They've got a massive membership, and for a little club in Norfolk to beat teams like that is probably pretty remarkable, really. It's the first year that Joe joined. I think we were already a pretty good side, but to slot him, arguably one of the best club cricketers in England, into that side, it really did strengthen us. We were pretty lucky to win the T20. We went through one round by default. But to be honest, what I really took away from it, I was disappointed for a long time that we lost the final at Northampton. We bowled pretty well and really should have chased the score, and just didn't perform on the day. My drive was the national competitions. To get through in those was more of a challenge. Having personally played in the local league for so long, you play against the same people, everyone, and playing against new people and challenging yourself against these bigger clubs is what I think everyone likes actually at the club now. That's probably why in some ways in the last couple of years we haven't won the East Anglian League, and it would be nice to get back on to winning that, but I don't think anyone would swap 2 national championships for an East Anglian Premier League. We peaked at the right time. Definitely, at the start of the season we were probably struggling, especially from a bowling point of view. We were a few people short, a few injuries. The big thing about last year, Callum Taylor was back. Callum and Joe Gatting are probably 2 of the best club cricketers around, so in the whole country, and to have both of those playing, and Callum to come back and play at the club that he'd played at before he went on to play for a county was great. So once we had those 2 in, I think we all fancied our chances. Maybe arguably we did focus on those a bit more than the league. We had a few bowlers carrying a few injuries, so those guys would bowl in the big national games rather than the Saturday games. So actually to finish second in the league was a pretty good achievement. It shows that we have got a really good squad where we've got 15 people who all want to play in that team and can still finish second with that focus on the national competition. On the morning of Lords, I woke up. I wasn't particularly nervous, actually, to be honest. I was just looking forward to it. When I started bowling, I wasn't nervous to start, but as I got deposited in there over the 40-yard boundary a couple of times, I was probably a little bit nervous. But we always knew someone was going to get hit that day, and we had enough runs to defend. So really, on the whole, it was just, I tried to take it in, and actually I could do that a little bit better, being a little bit older. I was fortunate enough to play there with David in '97. That was over 2 days, and I was probably a little bit young to really properly take it in. So, and actually this is different because that was for Norfolk. This was with people I played with for years, my friends. So I could take it in. It was a very enjoyable day. That belief probably came originally from 2010. So there weren't a lot of people playing from 2010, but there were a handful. And everyone believed. We had a mixture. We had a young Alfie Cooper batted brilliantly on the day, promoted up the order, and everyone contributed to that victory during the season. We had looked at points in the Ealing game where we were really struggling. We played against some good sides. We always seemed to get drawn away. The only home fixture we had was Ealing. Bexley. There were a number of games where it was very close, but the whole squad and ethos of the team really got us through that final, and it was good, like on the big day, that we did actually perform.
The Royal London 2019 campaign began in late April with a home win against Fakenham, followed by victories over Bourne, Chelmsford and finally Cambridge in the regional rounds. Things started getting serious as we reached the national stage of the competition and we headed to Finchley. Despite a few sticky moments, the team rallied for a 42-run victory. Key performers on the day were Joe Gatting with 79 and 4 wickets, and a fine 3-wicket spell from Cal Taylor. 3 weeks later, we headed for Bexley in the quarter-finals. A seriously impressive performance saw Swardson dominate the match, eventually winning by 132 runs. Gat hit 72 and Peter Lambert made 71 after Cal had struck 61 at the start of the innings. A hush descended on the Bexley crowd as Scots international Matt Cross was bowled by Tom Oxley with fewer than 20 runs on the board. And a superb all-round bowling display was led with Cal and Alfie Cooper grabbing 3 wickets each. Sunday, 1st of September, and the semi-final beckons. It suddenly dawns on club members we are now just 1 game away from Lords. A huge crowd gathered at the Common as Ealing made the trip to Norfolk. Our batters were solid without being exhilarating until Lambo hit a 50-ball unbeaten 81 to propel us to 259 for 7. We knew we would have to bowl and field well to secure our dream, and the team set to work in front of the large home support. Opener Milo Wilkins stood firm, but when he was third out, bowled by Richard Sims with a score on 157, Swardson centred their opportunity. Led by a brilliant 4 for 29 from Cal and Sims's 3 wickets, Swardson crushed Ealing's hopes as they fell 32 runs short. The scenes of joy at the end were something to behold as the realisation hit home. We're going to Lords! Monday, 16th September arrived, and the Swardson party travelled down on the Sunday ahead of the match v Nantwich the following day. Players took advantage of a net at the world-famous nursery ground and then a team meal. Supporters gathered for an Italian meal and dreamt of what tomorrow could bring. The day dawned with a hint of rain and the prospect of overcast conditions with showers throughout the day. Anglia TV, BBC Radio Norfolk and the Eastern Daily Press were present to witness the match, and nerves began to collide. Gat lost the toss, and Nantwich skipper Ray Doyle did what we knew he would do given the conditions. He stuck us in. Nervous energy crackled through the air as Cal and Geordie Taylor went out to open the batting in front of a noisy crowd of Swardston supporters, including a brilliant bunch from our main club sponsors Leeds Prior. 25 runs later, Cal and Geordie were both back in the pavilion, and Swardston hearts skipped a beat. Gat then produced what turned out to be a masterstroke, as he sent 19-year-old Alfie out to bat at 4 to join Steve Gray. The pair took the score along to 72 before Gracie was dismissed. Gat headed to the wicket, and he and Alfie then added 65 for the 4th wicket, before Alfie was out for a 66-ball 61. The platform these guys had laid was then perfect, as the Swardston middle order picked up the pace. Gat made 49, Lambo went to town with a 37-ball 60, Lewis Denmark weighed in with 34 off 22 balls, and Simsy and Matt Taylor put the icing on the cake as we made a formidable 280 for 7 from our 40 overs. As they left the field, the Nantwich players looked visibly shocked at what had just happened, and the realisation they needed to score at 7 and over from the get-go. 2 down with 41 on the board, Nantwich batters Luke Robinson and Ryan Brown then began to put together a threatening 81-run stand. Rain intervened, and Nantwich was set a revised target of 253 from 35 overs. Players returned to the field, and Robinson departed for 54, and the dangerous Brown, who had made 59 from just 38 balls, was 6 out at 150. From then, Swardston flicked on the turbochargers, and only one more Nantwich batsman made double figures. All 5 of our bowlers, Ox, Simsy, Cal, Gat and Mark Thomas grabbed 2 wickets each as we romped home by 59 runs. The excitement at the end, as Joe was presented with the Royal London Trophy and Lambo was named man of the match, sent shivers down the spine. There were emotional scenes as long-term Swardston members fought back the tears at the enormity of what the club had just achieved. Jonathan Wills from Anglia TV broadcast live from the pitch into the evening edition of About Anglia, and the players got the chance to celebrate with loved ones and friends.
In amongst all of this, we've talked about vegan cricket balls, we've talked about the final of the National Club Championship, won today by Swardston, a fantastic team. We saw the celebrations, what it meant to them. They were playing Nantwich in the final, and rain affected, it had all sorts of drama, but come the time, Swardston, this little village club from just outside of Norwich, lifted the trophy. And here to tell us more about it, Swardston chairman as well and captain as well, Joe Gadding. Let me come to you, Joe, first of all. Just a few minutes ago, you lifted the trophy. What does it mean? You've played here, the famous Gatting name. You've played here for Sussex as well. But what did today mean to you?
I think it was an amazing day for the club, the players. Obviously, these are very good friends of mine. It's great to see the hunger in them and the enjoyment of putting them together. And also, it's great to see the supporters, the committee, the families. It's just a great family club, and obviously we have the good fun of playing cricket. The rest probably watching a bit nervous on the sideline, but without them we couldn't play. So we're obviously very grateful to the club, to supporters, and yeah, it's a great day for everyone involved.
What does it mean for the chairman as well, Stuart? Because I've spoken to you throughout the day and there have been some nervous moments for you.
I guess it means empty wallet for a little bit of tonight, but unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. We've been gunning for this competition for a few years, almost won it in 2016. To get to the final again is a major achievement. To get to the final that's played at the home of cricket, fantastic. But to come here and see Joe and those guys put up such an impressive performance against a very, very good team from Nantwich, it gladdens the heart. There's so many people involved with the club for so many years and decades that this is absolutely the pinnacle of what we've achieved so far.
And Joe, I've got to say, this is of course only half the job done, isn't it? Because next Sunday you go for the T20 final.
It is, yeah, T20 final at Derby. Obviously, we've been there a few times recently, but I think to win both nationals in 1 year, I don't think any club's done that. So that's obviously something we really want to do and create new history.
Yeah. And Stuart, from the point of view of this club, you are a little village club, and yet you produce cricketers that play in these finals almost every other year now. It is a fantastic achievement. What is the secret?
I guess we've always built a strong spirit, and very much we're a big one club. We run 4 teams on a Saturday, and and everyone that plays every Saturday is as important as each other. A great foster of that spirit. A lot of players that have been together, as Joe said, have fought every Saturday, every Sunday for a long while now.
A remarkable day was crowned by a drinks reception in the long room, and a chance to reflect and relive the most successful day in the club's history. Just 6 days later, still high on the Lord's triumph, the players travelled to Derby to attempt to complete a unique club cricket double, to win the national T20 title in the same year as the 40 over competition. Once again, Gatt rallied his troops, and the momentum from Lords saw us make an extraordinary 200 for 6 in 20 overs in the semi-final victory over Cranley. Just hours later, we faced Toff from Derbyshire in the floodlit final. The players dug deep once more and ran out winners by 21 runs. The celebrations were long and loud as all Swardson followers contemplated the double and started to speculate on whether it would ever be achieved again. A magnificent way to end a remarkable year for Swardson Cricket Club, a team from a Norfolk village with just 700 residents. Double UK champions.